With the Bears possibly saying so long to historic Soldier Field, there may be political consequences for the mayor. Our Spotlight Politics team takes a deep dive on this and much more. Welcome back, Amanda Vinicky, Heather Sharon, and Paris Schutz. So, as we heard earlier, Mayor Lightfoot had a lot to say about the Bears moving to Arlington Heights and the future of Soldier Field. Here she is again.
The venue is a very well sought after venue. We've already got a waiting list for opportunities for 2022. So I'm very bullish about what the future holds for Soldier Field. I hope the Bears are part of it, but I have a responsibility to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to maximize and catalyze that asset.
So Heather, could this be a political blow for Mayor Lightfoot? Is she going to go down in history as the mayor who lost the Bears to the Burbs?
Absolutely. People have a real attachment to the Bears. Chicago might be a divided baseball town, but a lot of people love the Bears, and they have loved the Bears for a long time, which is really, the team has sort of really embodied that working class, salt of the earth, Chicago self-image that the city likes to have. I also think it's a little bit interesting that the Bears say that the deal in Arlington Heights could close as early as late 2022 or early 2023. If Mayor Lightfoot seeks a second term, she will be on a ballot in February 2023, which almost promises that headlines about the Bears' looming departure, if it is finalized, would be front and center for a lot of people, which could make convincing people to give her another 4 years in office difficult, to say the least.
Paris, is this another example of how the mayor handles managing relationships?
Well, I don't think the mayor did herself or the city any favors by that initial reaction saying the Bears ought to focus on being relevant past October and beating the Packers. Obviously, the tone now is different, but it almost feels like, as Heather said, this won't close for at least another year, but it kind of feels like it's a done deal, even though it's not. And some folks I spoke to today around this said there's almost nothing the mayor could have done other than preempting any talk of Arlington Heights and having a team go to the Bears and say, look, we get it, Soldier Field is not comparable to these new NFL stadiums, and you can't make it such, as Mark Gannis said. So let's talk about a big, giant piece of land here, like the 78, or like Michael Reese, or like near McCormick Place, that you can build a giant dome and all these developments that you want to see, because it just doesn't look like it's going to be able to happen at Soldier Field. And according to everyone I talked to, and Mark Gannis, you heard, it just feels like this is too late.
And Amanda, you're still at Soldier Field, but would the state kick in for a new stadium in Arlington Heights?
Well, yeah, because that's another B word that we did not talk about, and that is the billions of dollars that it will cost to move the Bears to. Oh, there we go. That it will. That is the billions of dollars that it will cost the Bears to build this new stadium. And so, yes, the question is, will they do that on their own? I mean, it is not as if the Bears owners have been, the McCaskies have been known to be great spenders here in any way or liking to go into debt. So that is certainly a question. Will they ask the state? But of course they will be asking the state for money. Is there any appetite, particularly after a pandemic when people are really hurting in their own pockets? It doesn't matter if you're a great fan of the Bears, you want to go and watch them, you're already maybe complaining about ticket prices, not necessarily wanting your money to go toward a new stadium. So I think that it is going to be very difficult to get anything like that through the General Assembly at this point, save for, by the way, any potential support for, some roads, capital infrastructure, that sort of thing. That's typical.
And Paris, you're a season ticket holder, but, just speaking about the politics as well, could the city's Park District Commissioner, since the Park District owns Soldier Field, is he going to take any heat for this as well?
Well, given those WBZ reports about those emails, sure he could. He might really be on the hot seat. And if Mayor Lightfoot is in political trouble, he knows this full well. He could be a fall guy where his job might be in trouble. But, all of this kind of puts a new light on the deal to renovate Soldier Field that taxpayers will be paying for till 2033, no matter if the team plays there or not. And it's going to cost, after debt and interest, about $1 billion. So here's what we got for this deal back in 2020 or 2001. The small stadium in the NFL, a loss of that historic landmark status, a stadium where you can't have a Super Bowl or NCAA. So as Mark Gannis said this was kind of a bum deal now that the Bears want out, and the stadium really isn't comparable to these new NFL stadiums. And I want to make one other point. 20 years ago, 25 years ago, when the Bears talked about going to Gary, Planet Park was the proposal, or Elk Grove Village, they almost had no leverage because the fans were like, no, you can't take the Bears away from the lakefront. But what I hear today in sports talk radio and social media is, it kind of makes sense that the Bears would go to Arlington Heights to build this new development because they know what's happened in LA, a big, beautiful stadium, in Las Vegas, and perhaps there isn't that nostalgic connection to this Soldier Field because it's not the same Soldier Field that you sat and watched the '85 Bears in under the colonnades. So it's a very different atmosphere now where I think the Bears do not risk losing fans or getting bad PR by moving away.
And it is not uncommon in the NFL for a football team to have the name of the Kansas City Chiefs or the New York Giants and actually be outside the city. The Giants play in Jersey.
They play in New Jersey. San Francisco 49ers play in Santa Clara, which is like 45 miles south of San Francisco. It's hard to get there from San Francisco. So, no, none of this is unprecedented at all.
Okay, so moving on.
Paris, you touched
Go
on
ahead,
it.
Amanda.
Getting to Arlington Heights would be easier, and I think
Metra.
that is something else that we haven't really touched on. The transportation and the difficulties in getting to Soldier Field on game day, and a frustration with that, which again is why fans, in some anyway, are on board with.
Can I just want to one more thing? As a season ticket holder, it's a good place to watch a game. The seats are good. It's a good atmosphere, good home field advantage. The sight lines are really good. So there's nothing wrong with it from a fan perspective. It's just that it's clear in the NFL today that there's nothing you can do to Soldier Field to make it comparable to these gleaming palaces that have just been built.
Okay, moving on. President Obama was in town yesterday to break ground on his presidential center. Here's why he said he chose that location.
It is surrounded by vibrant neighborhoods and a community where we believe we can help make a difference. Jackson Park also happens to hold a special place in my heart because it was literally my entryway into Chicago.
Now, Heather, they had a bit of a limited audience at a pretty audacious event yesterday.
So two things were happening. One, there is still a pandemic going on. President Obama took a lot of heat for scheduling a big birthday bash on Martha's Vineyard earlier this summer. And I am sure that they did not want the optics of sort of a big dog and pony show while people are still dying every day from COVID-19. Also, this location, Jackson Park, is still very controversial. There's a pending lawsuit, and a lot of people were very upset to see the work start at Jackson Park by tearing down literally hundreds of trees that will be replaced, but that was really hard for people to see. So it had a dual benefit, although it did serve to sort of mute the celebration of what Mayor Lightfoot and Governor Pritzker are really hoping serves as a catalyst for not just Woodlawn and South Shore, but really the entire South Side, which has faced decades of disinvestment and, of course, all of the societal ills that go along with that.
Amanda, Heather just mentioned this, but there's still a legal challenge from Protect Our Parks, correct?
Yes, Protect Our Parks is trying to move forward on three fronts, despite already really getting rejected by the U.S. Supreme Court. Trying again, they were frustrated that yesterday's event, albeit this smaller, more scaled down one, went forward. They questioned, why all the pomp when in fact there are still these legal challenges. It seems as if the city, the Obamas, not all that worried about that. And just briefly, I will add, since I was there, it was a bit strange. I counted only, 16 individuals actually seated, the dignitaries who had invitations to be there. There were, roughly that much media. And so you had, the former president of the United States, known for his oratory skills, giving one of those classic inspirational speeches, and there was muted applause, not because the people in attendance weren't excited, but because there were so few of them in this huge empty space. And then also briefly, just to put in mind the scale of this Arlington Heights potential Bears arena, that's, how many acres that is versus the 20 acres that the Obama Presidential Library is going to receive. This is a huge, huge space that the Bears would be taking over in Arlington
It's
Heights.
the size
and I think
of the
that's
Loop.
just worthy of pointing out in terms of what can happen there.
It's about the same size as the Loop.
Yeah, so that's for comparison, everybody.
Yeah.
For those of you playing along at home. So moving on to politics, well, more politics. Former Alderman Ricardo Munoz pleads guilty to using campaign funds for personal use. Heather, remind us who he is and his tenure to the city council. What are these federal charges that he's pleading to?
Well, Alderman Munoz represented the 22nd Ward, which includes Little Village, for nearly 25 years. He did not run for re-election in 2019. And by the time he left office, this sort of issue with the campaign funds with the Progressive Caucus was known. And this week, he pled guilty. He acknowledged that he took $16,000 from the campaign fund, used it to pay a relative's tuition, and could be sentenced to between 10 and 16 months in prison. It will be up to a judge to issue that final sentence shortly after the first of the year. And it really caps off what was really a decades-long career in Little Village as one of the first Latinos to rise to real political power on the city council. He led the Progressive Caucus at one point, and he was somebody that a lot of other aldermen looked to sort of lead the progressive push against Mayor Rahm Emanuel while he was in office.
And before we go, a little bit of national news. President Biden was scheduled to be in Chicago today to tout United Airlines' COVID vaccine mandate, but canceled that trip so that he could keep working on negotiations on Capitol Hill. Heather, back to you. What kind of message does that send with that visit? Because United Airlines is set to fire several hundred employees for not getting that COVID vaccine.
Right, but that's just about 1% or even less of their total workforce. And I think it tells you a little bit about how difficult things are on Capitol Hill for the president right now, that the easiest thing for him right now is imposing vaccine mandates on both the Department of Defense employees, which now have a more than 90% vaccination rate, than trying to get his infrastructure bills through both the House and the Senate. And that took priority this week. I know that several aldermen are hopeful that the president comes back and helps push vaccine mandates. The city employee vaccine mandate is supposed to take effect October 15th, which means city employees have to get their final dose of the vaccine by Friday.
And Paris, in just these 20 seconds,
Yeah.
Are Democrats from both ends of the spectrum, are they dooming the president's promises here, his priorities?
Well, it just comes down to what it's always come down to is the Democratic caucus are going it alone on the $4+ billion of infrastructure plus Build Back Better, and they have to fund the government to keep it open and the debt ceiling, and the divide is between more moderate Democrats and progressive Democrats. More specifically, it's still coming down to those two senators, Sinema from Arizona and Manchin from West Virginia, and Manchin saying it just doesn't look like he wants to support that $3.5 trillion proposal. Progressives saying that's what it is. We need the climate stuff in there. We need it to be that much money. It doesn't seem to me any deal emerging quite yet, and they have to do it soon.
So, should be fun to watch this week, again, for those playing along at home. Thanks to our Spotlight Politics team, Heather Cherone, Amanda Vinicky, and Paris Schutz.